David Beckham, where'd you start? On the field, off the field, like transcended the game changer, icon. And I think because as time goes on, the light on the pitch dims a little bit of how good he was. And I think that this generation probably need to kind of go and watch YouTube maybe, or just get somebody who's been around him in that era just to understand. That's why I think this nostalgic kind of piece is really amazing and enlightening for this next generation, because to understand what David Beckham is, I don't think the younger generation get it. He was a ridiculous footballer. And the way to break him down, he wasn't someone who was going to get the ball and be a Ronaldinho or a Messi type player, or someone who's going to get the ball and dribble past 3 or 4 players and do a bit of skill and you go, wow. He had the fundamentals of the game down. Like, you could do a training session about around 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, crossing and shooting. All the basic fundamentals, he was minimum 8, normally around a 9/10. Because he was that good. And that comes with one thing: a mindset to practice diligently, a mindset to improve on a daily basis. And I'll never forget, obviously I'm at Manchester, I'm at West Ham as a young kid. I get into the England squad and I go to England, and you've got to remember, the captain I think was Tony Adams at the time, or Shearer. Paul Ince is there. Gazza's about. Yeah, right. Rio Ferdinand, like all the Jamie Redknapp, all these massive players. I've had pictures of them on my walls, Panini stickers. And I walk in and I see Becks, and I just think, like, Scholesy stood out a mile, unreal player. But Becks was the one you look at and you go, during the session, he was 100 miles an hour everywhere. Hard work, shutting people down, great technique on the ball. Always done something in a training session you thought, whoa, that's elite. But it was when everybody, the final whistle of the training session used to go, that's when he stood out. Because he'd go and get a bag of balls, or he'd go and set himself up somewhere and start working on shooting, free kicks or passing. And there's a lot of players that do that, but then when you see the discipline, the consistency, the intensity with which he worked at that time, I'd never seen anything like it. The precision. And we can talk about how good he was at it, but it was like the concentration. Like, people would do it laughing and joking and, yeah, I'll put that down, bang. It was like a proper, like, it's a training drill, and he just blocked everyone out. And the intensity with which he worked at was, I'd never seen anything like it. And that's why he was that good. That's why he was that consistent. If you look over the treble season, 99, he's probably the best player at United that season. He was unbelievable. He was unplayable. He scored every type of goal you could imagine, in terms of, like, from 30 yards, whipping it, drilling it, chipping the keeper, volleys, fade on the ball. Undoubtedly, the best crossover ball I've ever seen. Like, I look at, if you're going to compare anyone in today's game, I'd go De Bruyne. I would say is the closest thing to Becks. Becks could play that position. I think it would be he could either play the holding midfielder in today's game, or he could play the number 8, stroke 10, that kind of plays in that area, like a Kevin De Bruyne, Odegaard, if we're talking about the Premier League at the moment, in them half spaces. Because if he got turned and faced the goal and he didn't have an opponent in front of him, he's whipping the ball in the top corner. So you'd have to be almost man marking him, because he was that deadly from around the box. He was unreal. Never seen anything like it. And on the run, passing the ball or crossing the ball, you speak to Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Dwight York, etc. And they'll tell you, the way he used to cross the ball, Michael Owen for England, the way he used to cross the ball, they used to look at him and think, wow, this is dream case scenario for me as a striker. To have someone like that, I'm going to make a run and a movement. He's running at full pace and he's going to find me, and the defender ain't going to be able to react. Mate, it was unreal. And like I say, he wasn't he wouldn't have been the Instagrammable player of today who does them crazy tricks and skills. But you are someone to move and for the ball to be put on their toe, for them not to break stride. Bex was your man. And he was one of the lads as well. I went to Manchester, to Man United. I signed there. And that first season, we would go out and have drinks and stuff around the games, in and around the city. He was always seen in the coffee shops. He was like a normal guy. Obviously, he's a superstar. And he's gone into catapult himself into superstardom again, even further. So he's leading a very different life now. But he was always one of the chaps, always one of the boys in the changing room. He was different in a lot of ways, in the way he wanted his style, and sometimes he could be quite quiet and stuff at times, but he was his own man. He was very comfortable in his own skin. But as a footballer, because people see him now as like this superstar, he's a club owner, he's just brought Messi to Inter Miami and stuff, which is great. But as the footballer, that's where my hugest respect for him was. He was just such a diligent, hard-working individual who had natural talent, but also worked on his talent as well. That's the key. There's a level of talent that he was born with and that he had, but his ability to really shut out all the noise and consistently graft his craft, chipping away at the way he hits the ball, chipping away at the way he positions himself to receive the ball, chipping away at the angles that he comes up with to get on the ball and to find angles to play to people, to protect his right back, Gary Neville, protected him all his life, made Gary Neville's career easy. But the way those two dovetailed and became a great partnership, he was a team. I think it was a pleasure to play with someone like him, because as good as he was with the ball, he was as great without it as well, because the way he defended, he was phenomenal. And I mean, even his career after Manchester United. And I think when you hear him speak now, I think he probably regrets leaving Man United. But at the time, he had to go because the manager had accepted the bid. Him and the manager wasn't getting on completely well at the time. We all know about the boot that hit him in the head and the stitches and stuff like that. But although I maybe didn't agree with some of the things and the way that he approached a couple of situations with the manager and stuff, I respected him because he really believed in what he thought. He was strong. Listen, I believe this. This is what I think, and no one's going to turn me. Even Sir Alex Ferguson, I'm not going to change, with the mad haircuts and the reveals of his haircuts and stuff like that. But he leaves Manchester United, goes to Real Madrid, does great things, goes to LA Galaxy, does great things, goes to transcends football in America, still doing that to today. AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain. Like, he's been at all these great clubs and carried himself with such a class. And you know what? When I used to watch him train, because you'd do your bit and you'd finish and you think, yeah, I'll put in a... He'd still be doing something. And it'd normally be free kicks towards the end of what his extra bit of training at the end. And I swear to you, he had England players sitting there and he was striking balls at goal. And we were all going... I couldn't believe it. And some players, obviously, in their first squad or second or third squad, and he might not have been there, or it's first time seeing him at close up like this, and they're going, I didn't know he was this good. That's the reaction you were getting from most players. Or you'd get players that are there going to the new guys, told you. Like, he was that precise. His free kicks were hitting top stanchions, top bins all day long, consistently. It was a joke. But it was all down to hard work ethic. He actually was that good at scoring, at taking free kicks in training and doing shooting and that some players wouldn't take part because they were embarrassed. And he would have been one of the main reasons why. There's a cluster of them, but he'd have been one of the main ones that people go, I can't compete with that. I ain't going in there. I ain't standing next to that. Seasoned England players. So David Beckham, the superstar off the pitch, bigger superstar on it for me.